Hi friends, today let's put Mrs Coulter from the His Dark Materials series into the spotlight. The His Dark Materials series is a book trilogy that was turned into a not-so-great movie and a much better TV show. For the moment, only the first season of the TV show has been released, and that correlates to the movie and the first book. So for this character spotlight, I'm only going to be covering Mrs Coulter's character from the first book, the movie, and the first season of the TV show. As more seasons of the TV show come out that correlate to the other books, I'll be able to cover her character differences in those. Mrs Coulter is very obviously the antagonist of the series.
Billy Costa is dead.
Well, that is unfortunate.
Though at first she seems kind and benevolent, and we even see her hire Lyra to help her get out of the boring Jordan College, we quickly find out she has a hidden agenda.
She's involved in
She is the Oblation Board. It's entirely her own project.
Going to Jordan College and finding Lyra and taking her back as her assistant was no mistake. We quickly find out that Mrs Coulter is actually Lyra's mother.
She's your mother, Lyra. That's what no one is telling you. She's your ma.
Mrs Coulter's first name, Marissa, is a Latin name, but also a Hebrew name. In Latin, it comes from the word maris, which means of the sea. This obviously has pretty much no link to Mrs Coulter whatsoever. However, in Hebrew, the name means wished for child, rebellion, and bitter. Obviously, her name meaning wished for child is pretty ironic, considering her only child she has was very much not a child she wanted.
Your ma was broken with the shame of it all. It's why she's like she is. She was a pariah for years.
Mrs Coulter had her child with Lord Asriel out of wedlock. In fact, she was married to another man when she fell pregnant.
When she was pregnant with you, they thought they could get away with it, but as soon as you was born, there was no hiding the Asriel in you.
This is definitely not a child that she ever wished for or wanted. Her name meaning bitter is very accurate to her character. She's an extremely angry and bitter person. We can tell that she never forgave Lord Asriel for leaving her, and she never forgave herself for giving up her daughter.
When has that man ever done anything for you?
He's done everything!
He's done nothing! He's a failure of a man and a failure of father!
Her surname Coulter is a Scottish last name. It comes from the Gaelic Scottish Coulter, which means black land. This in turn is a distortion of the Scottish word Coulter, which means a safe place to keep cows. Mrs Coulter's demon is never named, but he's a golden monkey.
I'm perfectly prepared.
Bear in mind that the demon is a person's soul and is a representation of who they truly are. Mrs Coulter's demon is a perfect representation of herself. The monkey looks beautiful, friendly, and is very glamorous with his shiny gold fur. However, he is a monkey, and though they are smart and resourceful, they're also known to be extremely aggressive and territorial. These are all aspects of Mrs Coulter that we see throughout the books, the show, and the movie. There are quite a few differences in Mrs Coulter's character between the movie, the first book, and the first season of the TV show. The first big difference to note is her looks. When the books were first written, she was described as having black hair with dark eyes. However, Pullman actually changed the description after seeing Nicole Kidman play her in the movie. He decided it made more sense for Mrs Coulter to have blonde hair like her daughter. This means that technically Nicole Kidman's blonde hair and blue-eyed portrayal of the character isn't that far off.
Let me deal with Asriel.
But the show portrayal isn't that far off either, considering she was initially described as having dark hair, which we see in the show, along with the blue eyes.
I could never get away from the occasional urge to jump.
The way Lyra finds out that Mrs Coulter is her mother is different. In the book, Lord Farr tells her who her true parents are during the roping. In the movie, Mrs Coulter tells Lyra who her parents are in Bolvangar.
Your mother didn't die in an airship accident, as you were told.
However, in the show, Lyra finds out about her parents at two separate moments. Mrs Coulter tells Lyra that Lord Asriel is her father in her London apartment. However, Lyra only finds out who her mother is much later through Mar Costa.
The truth is complicated. Some things you're better off not knowing.
In the show, we see the two Egyptian boys break into Mrs Coulter's apartment. There, they are faced with a very angry Mrs Coulter armed with a gun. Tony unfortunately dies when he falls down the elevator shaft.
I betrayed my family for no one.
This is not a scene we see at all in the book or the movie. Another scene that we don't see at all in the book or the movie is Mrs Coulter going to Jordan College and attacking it and the master of Jordan College.
You don't believe original thinking should be protected?
Well, if the thinking was clever enough, it would find a way to obscure itself from the Magisterium, wouldn't it?
Both of these scenes are used to show Mrs Coulter's true character and just how far she'll go. In the show, we see a scene where Mrs Coulter admits to having Lord Asriel imprisoned by armoured bears.
I have Lord Asriel.
This doesn't exist at all in the movie, and this revelation does happen in the book, but later on in one of the subsequent books. Lyra's intercession scene also happens slightly differently in the TV show than it does in the movie and the book. In both the movie and the book, Mrs Coulter stops the intercession of her own accord. However, in the show, we actually watch Lyra call out to her screaming, "Mother!" In general, we just see more of Mrs Coulter within the TV show. We see a lot more scenes of her interacting with other characters, especially characters that don't actually appear until later on in the books. For example, we see her interact a lot with Lord Boreal or Father MacPhail.
You're late.
I've been busy.
Where?
Oxford.
As I mentioned earlier, Nicole Kidman played Mrs Coulter in the movie. However, she was actually hesitant to accept the role as she wasn't sure if she wanted to play a villain. Ruth Wilson played Mrs Coulter for the TV show. She loves portraying this character. Not only does she enjoy the glamorous outfits she gets to wear, she loves playing all of the different sides to Mrs Coulter.
Controlled by bears who are, in this case, controlled by me.
A Big Bad Read poll asked readers to vote on who they believed was the worst villain in literature. And by worst villain, I guess you'd say best villain, the most evil of the evils. Mrs Coulter came in 3rd place behind Voldemort from the Harry Potter series and Sauron from the Lord of the Rings series. For those of you who haven't read the books, what do you think Mrs Coulter is going to do next? And for those of you who have read the books, without giving anything away of course, are you excited to see Mrs Coulter's future on screen? Please tell me in the comment section down below. And until next time, happy bubbles! Thanks so much for watching this video, and thank you to my Patreon bubblers for supporting the channel. If you want to see the other characters from the His Dark Materials series I've already covered, you can click on the box on the left. Or you can click on the box on the right to see the most recent video that I have published. Thanks for liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell.